There we go. Hey, good afternoon and welcome everybody. This is Leonard with Indie Band Coach. If you can hear me, if you can see me, if you love me, no, I'm just playing. If you can hear me, please make a comment or a like or something below so that I know that I am chimed in here. I'm kind of experimenting each week, just looking at different live streaming platforms and services and things like that. So this week I'm actually using a trial version of a program called StreamYard. It's very similar to one that I've used before called Be Live. But yeah, I'm just experimenting with a couple of things here. So each week I'm actually, using something different so that I can find the best way and the best one to use on a continual basis. So, like I said, if you're able to hear me, please just drop a comment below, and I would be very appreciative of that. I'm also looking on my other screen here, so excuse me if it looks like I'm distracted. I'm actually just checking to make sure that it is live on another device. Okay, that's a good deal. So let me know if you can hear me. In fact, just give me a shout out. Let me know where you are from. And yeah, we've got a global group here in Indie Band Connect. So we are all over not just the country, but we are all over the world in some way, shape, or form. So let me know where you guys are dialing in from. But today, ladies and gents, I've got a little comment here. Da da da. Okay, that's fine. It says comments. Good deal. It says it won't show the name. Hey, what's up, Craig? What is going on? I believe that's Patrick. Welcome, you guys. So, March is engagement month. That's what I want to start off with, and that's what I want to let you know. And the reason that March is engagement month is because I have basically a few questions that are set up whenever anyone enters the group. And for like the last, I think it's been since January is when I turned that on. But a lot of the questions and a lot of the things that people have been saying that, they're struggling with, which is very understandable, is engagement. How do you get people to interact with your stuff? How do you set up your social media so that, people will consistently be engaging and interacting with your posts? Now, it's no, specific science. It's not something that is going to be, 100% all the time, but there are different ways that, we can focus on engagement and some different tactics that we can use. So I decided that March was going to be engagement month. And then every Friday, I'm going to go live. Hi, I'm live now, but we're going to go live and basically going to, just pick apart one aspect of trying to get engagement for, your pages and your social media. So today, our whole thing is going to be about 10 ways to ask more engaging questions, and just really getting into, what are some of the types of questions we can ask. In fact, I'll just flip through here if this will work. Yes, and just in case you don't know, my name is Leonard with Indie Band Coach. I am a certified content marketing specialist. We put out a 30-day social media calendar for musicians every month. And for those of you that are already on the subscription, we had a busy week. So I have literally just now getting March's calendar out now. But all of the previous months, they always have like the first week or so of the following month. So, there's always some overlap there. So we'll be good to go. But I'll drop a link for the calendar if you want to subscribe to that. It's $15 a month. And we're actually going to be having a separate Facebook group for that, because I'll be dropping some content and different things in there. But for today, what we're going to focus on is asking engaging questions. And what we're really going to get into is like, why do they work? Where should you use them? And then what types of questions you should ask. So, it's just one of the things that is really kind of human nature And that is really what basically the answer to the first question is, why do questions usually work? And that's because it is something that, just if you hear a question, your natural inclination is you want to respond to that question. You want to complete that sentence or fill in the blank. And if you think about it too, social media was never meant to be, a replacement for talking to people. It was supposed to be kind of a complement to it. So it'd be additional ways that we could get out and talk to people, or different ways that we could complement the conversations, we were already having. But in obviously some way, shape, or form, whether it's scheduling and bots and all of that stuff, in some instances it has replaced communication. But if we just get back to the heart of it and think about the purpose of social media and when people are at their most engaging, that is when they're in conversations. And that's what questions do. And that's why they work, is because, they're starting some sort of conversation. Now, of course, you can have open-ended questions and closed-ended questions and things like that, but the gist of it is you are asking someone, and, people have opinions. People want to be involved. People want to, finish that thought or add their own expertise or add their personal stories to things like that. So that's one of the reasons that questions work really well. Just on my Instagram today, I actually used a question that I've used before, probably over a year ago, but there's been a lot of new people that are, coming into the tribe. So I'm like, you know what, this is another thing that not only goes well with the lesson this week, but it's a question I generally like to, get, the responses to. But I basically just asked, what excites you most about being a musician? And the responses are just great. I mean, there's, I think, 6 or 7 folks that have responded, but, and I then went and chimed in on each of those responses, which is something that, can really help to start conversation. So if you ask a question, someone answers, acknowledge their response. It's just like you'd be standing, face to face with them. So we can think more about how we can treat social media when you're face to face as if you were face to face with someone. The more successful you'll be, and the less the algorithm changes are going to affect you. Because if you're having genuine conversations, those are the things that Facebook will always reward you for. Okay, so that is why they usually work. And I say usually because depending on your followers, and depending on, could be the time of day, it could be, just how interactive you have been in the past. Not every single post is going to be a winner. Not every single question you ask is going to be gangbusters. But if you get in the habit of asking questions, you get in the habit of pulling out, those responses from your fans, then it's going to be something that will be, kind of a snowball effect, and it'll just start to be more and more effective as you continue to go along that line. So yeah, let me ask you this while we are on our chat here. So if you're listening to this, whether it's live or replay, what excites you the most about being a musician or being in the music business? Because I really do want to know. So yeah, put that in the comments below. Let me know. Okay, so the other thing that we wanted to talk about as well is, like, where should you use the questions? And honestly, the answer to that is pretty much anywhere that they make sense. But they're great for social media channels, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. They're definitely something that can, be just universal in terms of, your social media. So over on the right-hand side of this screen, you'll see 3 different types of questions or poll functions. And that is something that is, unique to pretty much most, if not all, of your social channels in some way, shape, or form. So in the upper right-hand corner, the top one that says ask us a question, that is actually a built-in question feature within Instagram stories. And there are a couple of different, there's like a sliding scale. I believe you can also do, different type of poll, but those are things that are built into the Instagram stories function because they know that it is something that is going to encourage and get great engagement. In the middle there where it says, would you like me to create a poll? That is actually something that is within Facebook. And I'm going to try and go out to Facebook and see if it'll work. I tried to do it last week and Facebook, I don't know if Facebook was down or whatever, but my feed just was not actually doing it. So, but yes, that is a native thing. If you click on the publish feature in Facebook, you can actually create a poll. And there's a bunch of different things there in that thing, but you can create a poll, you can do start a Q&A, you can make lists, you can do all types of different things. So that's Facebook. And then in the bottom square there, that is actually a poll feature that you can use on Twitter. So these are actual built-in functionality to the platform. You don't have to go out and use a special program or do anything outside of that. And the reason that they're building these in is because they want you to be able to use them as quickly and effectively as possible to keep the conversation going and to keep people on the platform. Okay. So that's just real quick examples of, not only why you should use them, but where you can use them. So they're great for social media. And don't forget, not just on social, but you can also use them if you do blogs or if you are, as we mentioned, stories and also newsletters. You can, if you don't have a newsletter, think about it. Think about different ways you can continually, get information and things out to your followers and your fans. But yeah, don't forget, just being able to ask questions, not just on social media, but any place that you would want to start a conversation. Okay. And looks like, I think this is Patrick that answered this question. It's just showing up as Facebook user here, but it said, I asked, what's one thing that excites you about being a musician? He said, making a difference in people's lives. When I sing, if I can make someone forget their problems for 3 minutes, that's all I need. And I don't know anyone that would disagree with that. That is awesome. And then Craig, that's a great question, man. It says, is there a way to distinguish the type of questions asked? Let me see if I can get your thing on screen here. Boom. What? We got skills, yo. Okay. Is there a way to distinguish the type of questions to ask that influence productive interaction and or limit troll participation? Yeah, the trolls are among us, aren't they? And to answer your question, yes, there are. And that is exactly, I feel like, Craig is not a plant. I did not ask him to ask that question at this exact time because the very next slide that we are going to get into are what types of questions you should ask, and how each of these types of questions can actually help. That's a great question, Craig. So hopefully as we go through this, some of that will help make sense for this. Okay. So yeah, the types of questions that can influence productive interaction. So there are going to be some questions that you ask that are going to be more, just lighthearted and fun. There's going to be some where you can ask specific things that are going to get you some real meat and potatoes kind of information, or like the question I asked you guys just now, or on Instagram, is it's a sincere question that is, focused towards a specific audience. It's, if you're not a musician, you're not going to be able to answer that question. And, let me just say this out loud. Don't be afraid to rule people out. So, don't be afraid to call out your audience and not just in asking questions, but like when you are focused on, your social media and when you're focused on communicating and things like that, don't be afraid to specify who your audience is. Case in point, on my Indie Band Coach Facebook page, when I first started that up, what, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago now, um, we had just moved from Indiana out here to Southern California. And so it was kind of a way, in addition to our personal page, for people just to keep in touch with what we were doing. But what I realized is like I've got a ton of non-musician folks on that page that are just friends and family that just wanted to see what we were doing and the business is all about. Well, when I ask a question there, when I post something there, a lot of times I'll put in, the header, musicians or, band leaders or something like that. So it's like I have to now, as opposed to going through and like having them like taking them off the page, which I don't even know I can do. I guess I could block them, but I don't want to block them. But I'm specifying, like, hey, here's who this post is for. If you think about that when you're asking questions, maybe this might be a way to, limit the trolls, Craig, is to say, hey, you know, if you have, or if you are in this situation, hey, what's da 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 da? If you have this comment in common, or if if this has happened to you, what's blah, blah, blah. So that way you can kind of limit the scope of people that are just trolling that question doesn't even apply to. And that's really when the trolls come out, is when they offer their opinions on stuff that doesn't even really apply to them. So that might be one way to do it. But let's take a look at the different types of questions. So the first one is fill in the blank, and let me know if that helped at all, Craig, or how you think that would go with your point, or if you have a more specific example. But I think just from being in some of the same Facebook groups I think that we're in, I think I know what you're talking about. So, but yeah, fill in the blank. Those are great. Just it's not even necessarily a question. It's like a statement with a blank in it. So, fill in the blank. My favorite CD is blank. And, it's that whole human nature thing of you are giving people an opportunity to add their input. You're giving them an opportunity to say, you know what, this is how I would finish that sentence, or this is how I would fill it in. You can also use fill in the blank, very strategically. So you can, ask something specific like, my favorite social network is blank, or my favorite local venue to hear live music is blank, because now whatever they fill in the blank with, you are actually now able to use that info. If you're starting to get a bunch of people that are responding with, hey, you know what, my favorite venue is, Joe's Grill, and you're like, well, shoot, I don't even play there. It's like now you can get some info about, maybe some place that you didn't know about or things like that. So you can also use these as ways to gather data. Okay. Um, what's another good fill in the blank question, guys? Yeah, what do you got? Would you rather is another type of question that you can ask. And let me do this real quick. I want to give me 1 second here. I want to copy this. Copy this URL. Yep. Sorry about this pause, folks. I just want to actually copy this URL to the event page, just in case some folks are looking for this inside the event. It's one of the things that I'm not necessarily a fan of when it comes to the events inside a group. It's hard to distinguish where they would go. Okay, streaming live now. There we go. Awesome. Okay. Thank you for that pause. Now I know I should actually do that ahead of time. Okay. Where are we at here? Okay. So another type of question is, would you rather? And, basically, would you rather, do this? Would you rather do that? Or two maybe like enticing choices or something like that. Would you rather have 5 close friends or, 5,000 Facebook friends? Would you rather be famous or would you rather be the best friend of someone famous? And again, these are questions that you're asking your fans. And again, if we think about what we're doing, we're really trying to provide value, stay top of mind. Everything doesn't have to be a post about our band or our music or things like that. But if people are finding value and finding entertainment when they come to your page on a regular basis, then you start to become the content and not just the commercial. You're not really interrupting their day, you're becoming a part of their day. And that's, in my mind, what the kind of the status that we really want to try and get to is we want to be the content, not the commercial. Okay. So yeah. And then, let's keep going here. Let's crank through a few of these. So what's your favorite? So, you can ask, what their favorite time of year is, what their favorite holiday is. We can use a version of this that was fill in the blank, instead of like, fill in the blank, my favorite music venue is blank. You can say, hey, what's your favorite live music venue to attend? Or what's your favorite music venue that you go to see bands or something like that. So yeah. And let's see, Craig here replied, said, I have questions that simply encourage a response rather than fish qualify. My understanding is that the Facebook algorithm, and let me again put this on screen, places value on quantity and not necessarily the value, or rather Facebook places value on the volume of interaction. Is that accurate? The most recent, and great question, Craig. Let's talk about questions for a second. Yeah, the last thing that the last algorithm that basically went through is basically they're putting a focus on family and friends and genuine interaction and genuine engagement and things like that. So I kind of want to say it's both, but I definitely know that they were getting away from the kind of the quantity, is if I remember this correctly, but there used to be, and if you guys were on Facebook, a year ago or 2 years ago, if you remember, it was like, hey, comment this to get this, especially when the Facebook messengers and the Facebook bots really started becoming popular. But it was like, hey, respond with sale to, in here to kick off our messenger bot or something like that. And the last thing I remember, again, this is probably 6 months ago now, but that they were really trying to get away from the clickbait. And to me, if I'm understanding your question correctly, that would be more towards the the quantity. So it's less about how many people, responded to that. And maybe it's more about literally, are they sharing this post with friends and family? Are they giving genuine responses that aren't necessarily one word responses? So that's another kind of a good reason to, I don't know that you're going to get penalized, if you only have one word responses. I think it's more of the clickbait thing that they were trying to get away from. But that's a great reason to have not just one type of question in your arsenal. That's a great reason to be able to have, fill in the blanks and discussions and things like that. So those are great things to be thinking about, and why, it's a good opportunity for us to, not just ask questions, but really get engagement and get responses from people and things like that. So Craig, coming with the questions, man, I'm gonna have to give you something, man. This is good stuff. So yeah, we just mentioned what's your favorite. That is an example of that. What is So this is where you can, just thinking about what we just mentioned, you can start to get into a little bit more in-depth responses. Now, depending on what your engagement is like, depending on what your current and how active your current fan base is, these are good examples of, what we just talked about are great examples maybe for just really small micro commitment questions. The one word questions that we just talked about, or the quick responses, that kind of stuff. These are really great ways to just really tackle more people at once that just might come in and respond to something. If you haven't asked a question in a while, or if your fan base is not very active, if your fan base is not very active, you might not want to start off with a, what is your superpower, or, like the what is kind of category. But depending on what it is, depending on what your fan base is, there's no one right answer to where you can start or where you should, what types of questions you should ask. It is something that you'll need to really just think about with your fans. But the what is type questions are, what is the best compliment you've ever received? What is your ideal date night, or what is your ideal night out? Parentheses, hopefully it includes our band, kind of thing. So you can use those types of questions, which are great ways to, just kind of tie in maybe some indirect promo. What is your ideal date night? Question mark. If it involves live music, hey, we're going to be at, Joe's Grill this Friday. Just as an example, I would not encourage you to combine a bunch of questions with promotion, but just one example of, how that might actually come to play. So that's one example of, or those are a few examples of what is. Only one thing. Again, you're kind of giving them, a way to ask some open-ended and give some open-ended responses. If you could have only one app on your phone, what would it be? What's one thing? What one thing do you hope to accomplish this week or this year? Let's see. Somebody said they can't hear. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Okay. Hey, Jerry, what's up, buddy? So yeah, hopefully you can hear me. Let me know. But yeah, what's one thing that you want to accomplish this week, or what's one thing that you want to get done in the next 5 years, or something like that? So only one thing. So you're saying, what, of all the options out there, what is one thing? So that's another type of question. And then let me ask you guys, what is one thing that you want to accomplish musically this year? Mike D, are you putting out a CD? Are you, is there a club that you want to play? Like, what is, I guess it's almost a combination, but if you only had one thing that you accomplished this year, what would it be? Boom, break 1 million net. That's what I'm talking about. I love it. And yeah, honestly, my one thing is, I know that there are folks out there, we put out this, like I mentioned, the social media calendar. I want to get to the point where I've got 1,000 people that are benefiting from our social media calendar. That's all I want for Christmas. And also, on a side note, wife and I are having a baby this year. Say, what? No. I don't, you guys are great. Thank you so much. No, don't. I'm just playing. My boys still swim. Okay, that's bad. I'm in public. Sometimes I forget I'm in public. Yeah, I apologize. I do. I really apologize. Okay, back to the questions. So a few more types of questions you could ask. So this or that. Do you prefer, cats or dogs? country or rock. And, these are what I want to say too is like with all of these questions, they don't all have to be ways to gather data or gather information. However, with each type of question, I bet you that there is a really good way that not only can you ask an engaging question, but you can also ask it in a way that you are getting information that, you're kind of like polling your audience. So if you've got, for example, if you're a cover band and you do have, a lot of rock and a lot of country in your set list, you might ask, a question like that and see, man, we had, 30 responses and 27 of them said they like country, more than rock. Maybe we need to add some more country songs. Or you could get specific with this or that. And let's say that you've got a couple of artists that you cover and you've got a lot of songs, or you've got a few songs by each of them, but maybe you say, this artist or that artist. Or, and I'm just spitballing right now. This isn't in my notes anywhere. But you could also do it if you are thinking about adding songs to your song list. And again, I'm kind of thinking in the cover band motif here. But, if you're thinking about adding some artists to your song list, you could be like, hey, you know what? Should I do, Michael Jackson or R. Kelly? How about neither? Okay. But no, that's really bad. My childhood is just being ripped apart at the seams, but I'm not going to go into any tangents here. But you see what I'm getting at. If you've got a couple artists you're thinking about adding, you could use it as a way not only to ask an engaging question on one hand, but also get information that will help you guide what you're actually going to do next. So, okay. If you could, for example, if you could run away for a day and do anything, what would you do? If you could retire tomorrow and money was no issue, what would you do? So those are great examples of questions that, are hypothetical, that will give your fans a chance to, again, put their own spin on something, or just kind of be able to, provide their own interpretation of what they would want to do. And here's the thing, again, it's conversations. These could be conversations or questions that you would ask face to face with someone. So think about how, you would, or maybe questions like this that you would ask someone face to face, or if you were at the club or at an event or something, maybe a question that you would ask your fans, face to face. So if you could is one. Very similar in a hypothetical way is what if, what if you won the lottery? How would you spend it? If someone gave you $1,000, what would you do with it? That kind of stuff. So what if is great. And then nostalgia is also great. Nostalgia is, it could be like, what was the best, what was the best vacation you ever took? What was one movie that you could watch over another? Again, you can get really specific with these, or you can get very general. But the gist of it is that, all of your questions or all of your posts on social media and things like that don't have to be, specifically about your music or about your content or things like that. So again, think about being the content versus the commercial. And then data focused is really kind of what I've kind of touched on. You can take any form of these types of questions and try to get data. Or at least, have the questions centered around data or information that you could use to, help run your band, or to help, be more specific to what your fans might like. So yeah, those are different types of ways that you could do that. But data focused, again, we've mentioned those. You could, be asking things like, what streaming service do you listen to the most? If you get back 10, 12 responses and everybody says Spotify and you don't get one Pandora, are you going to, be promoting your music on your Pandora channel, or are you going to be doing it on Spotify? And let's see, Craig got another question here. Let's see what Craig says. Are these generalized for universal application, or do you find that certain questions asked are more applicable to event vans versus bar pub vertical, or does it matter? Great question. And honestly, it does not matter. These are literally, let me hide this. And this is just my opinion. So I have not done, years worth of research, but just looking at different posts and seeing what different types of bands are out there and things like that. To me, whether it is, event based or bar bands or however you want to look at, those different verticals, it doesn't matter because people are on social media to be social, and people are on there to, have to be entertained. And if some way, shape, or form you can entertain them by, having a question or having a conversation with them by asking questions and things like that, I don't think that the audiences of those two different types of bands, or two different types of, bands, brands, or whatever you want to call it, are so different that, these questions wouldn't work. But here's the good thing about it is that, now that we've kind of broken down like the different types of questions, you can, in fact, I'm going to give you guys something here in a minute, but you can actually go through and just tailor them to be like, you know what? These types of questions work really well. These type, seem to fit really well with my brand, or, the this or that kind of thing. That's too similar to this, or, the what if and the would you rather kind of. So you don't have to use all of these different types of questions. In fact, it's probably best to, focus on a few and literally think about, okay, doing some tests. Like, all right, maybe this week, and this is, let's call this homework, if you will. But, maybe this week, what we can do, and I'm actually going to do this as well. So I'll play along with you guys, or I'll participate with you guys, is that, we actually do some tests with your audience. And it's like, okay, this week I'm going to ask 3 questions, and I'm going to ask a this or that. I'm going to ask a nostalgia, and I'm going to do a fill in the blank. And, I'm going to look at, maybe look at your Facebook insights, or the insights of whatever platform you would use them on, and see, try to get some, information about when your people are online the most, just to kind of give, each post its best chance at success. But then go back through after that week and, look at the insights and see which ones are working best. And then maybe the week after that, and I say weeks because technically you could do one question every single day, but I also think it's good to mix things up a little bit. But, I might do, and I'm just making this up on the spot, so you can tell me what you guys' plan is. But I think I'm going to, think about doing some questions. I'm probably going to focus on Instagram just for, the Indie Band Coach audience. Instagram seems to be the most active, but I'll probably ask a question like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I think most of my folks are online between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. Pacific time. So I'm going to ask a question each of those days. I'm going to take a look at the, the analytics and see what it does. Probably post them to Facebook too, but yeah, so that I'm going to run some tests and kind of see, I would have loved to have, already run those tests and been able to give you some input here, but, we've got the whole month of March. Actually, we've got 3 more weeks of March to, give some input here, but, let's do a test. Let's get some info. Let's get some data. But, the week after that, I might run 3 totally different types of questions, but still do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday kind of thing. And obviously, St. Patrick's Day and, different holidays and different things like that, could all, play a part in how, one post maybe does better than another, things like that. But it's all about gathering data. It's all about, trying to find the sweet spot of being entertaining and, posting content that resonates with your fans and things like that. So that's why I wanted to, take today to really break down the questions and how they can work and how we can, really start to use them to, increase engagement. So let me see here. Yeah, that is what that is. Now, I did want to go out to Facebook. I'm not sure if it'll let me. Okay, that's the screen I'm sharing. Yeah, I'm gonna get crazy. I'm gonna try it. Yeah, we're gonna try it. We're going in. But I wanted to just real quick show you the poll feature. And we didn't actually call poll a type of question, but you can use these different types of question formats in a poll on Facebook. And actually, like we mentioned in that slide, you can use polls on each of the platforms or questions on each of the platforms. So what I want to do is I want to go to Indie Band Coach. And I wanted to show you this because I think it's really cool. And because, not just in terms of asking questions, but when it comes to the type of content and the format of the content. But if you haven't seen by now, GIFs are one of the most popular types of, content that gets shared. So one of the cool things that you can do on Facebook, and I just went into a post. I'll just walk through this real quick and we'll let you be on with your day. But you can actually, let me blow the screen up so that's even better. There we go. But once you go to publish a post, then you can click on the little ellipses here if it doesn't already show up. And then just really quick, this is, these are all of the different things that are built into the publishing function of Facebook. So they're like, look, you can get people to your shop. You can check in someplace. You can write a note, add a milestone, tag a product, advertise, start a watch party, get caught, like all of this stuff. They're like, look, we are building all of this stuff into your publishing function because we want you to stay here. We want to encourage you to use these things to get people to stay here. So that's the only thing I'll say about that. But I will go into the poll because I wanted to show you just how easy this is and how quick this is. But, for example, we could do, a this or that. In fact, I think the example I used in there was, would you like to see a poll? And so you can do this. You can do your answers 3 ways. You can do simply yes or no. And I think you can just publish it like that. Or I might actually have you attach one of these things. But you can attach a photo or you can attach a GIF. And you can also just on a side note, if you're on your personal page that's not a business page, your poll option, you're actually able to list several different options, not just 2. But if you're on a business page with your music, you are able to do it's basically like a this or that, like would you rather this or that. Basically, you've got a couple different options. But the reason I wanted to show you this is just because it's so cool and so easy to find ways to make a visual poll or to, ask a question and then, have it be an engaging poll in itself. So, for example, if you just wanted to find options for yes, my Napoleon Dynamite dude. And yeah, we had a dog on the cover, so I'll use this little dude again. But would you like to see me create a poll? Or would you like to see a poll? Yes. And then we could do, I think I did, nah. The little kitty. How cute is the kitty? And then you can also determine the length of it. So, for example, if you've done a video or if you've done something that's like, hey, Music Monday, what do you guys want to do today, or something like that, you might do it for just a day. You might have it be just a week, or you can also have it be never. You can also customize it too. So you can use the poll feature in a very creative way to, basically go out and complement your question and turn it into a poll. And then I also to show you really quickly too, same thing with Twitter. So if you are on Twitter, if you go into your publishing option, so not only can you do photo and here's a GIF again, you can also, add a location, but this little jobby here is a way to add a poll. So what would you like to see? Whatever that is. Their engagement or cookies. And I think you can add 5 up here. So pizza. I'm going to keep going. Okay, so just 4. Let's see. More money. And then you can also change the length of your poll here. And then, so with Twitter, you don't actually have the option to add an image to each option. But again, this is something that's built into Twitter when you create a tweet. So again, they recognize the fact that, it's really going to benefit us if we're building in these functions so that people can, create these posts that are going to get better engagement. So you can use up to 4 options there. So if you are active on Twitter and your fan base is on Twitter, you can do the same exact poll on here. Obviously, you can only use, you don't have to use all 4. You can use the same 2 options that you use on Facebook. So just another way to do that. And I do not have my phone hooked up to my computer, so I'm not going to be able to show you the Instagram story option. But if you are on Instagram and you're in stories, you're able to just click on the little square face looking thing and then open it up. And then you're able to look at all the different functions in there. So I'll drop the image of that here in the comments below. But and then Craig says, where are we at here? Notice that you can create a poll to be shown at the end of a video. Yes, actually, that's a very good point too, Craig, is that I believe their Facebook, Facebook Live videos and ones that you upload, you can add a poll to your Facebook Live. And yeah, I didn't experiment too much with it, but I did notice that, and I created the poll, and I thought I would be able to go in, my Facebook Live and actually, be able to have it show up when I wanted it to, but it didn't work. But I'm going to experiment with that because that is definitely a good way to use questions and use different types of things in video, which obviously video is, the name of the game right now. So good point there. Let me go back. Yes or no. And yeah. So that is going to conclude our session for today. Let me go back up here. Thought there'd be an easier way to do this, but I'm just going to scroll back up. There we go. So why do questions usually work? That's because, again, as we mentioned, it's human nature. People want to fill in the blanks. People want to, basically, provide their input and complete that sentence on things like that. So questions are going to work just because, that's just how we're wired. Where should you use questions? And that is any place that you would want to start a conversation. Obviously, and that's even face to face, obviously, too. So any place that you're going to want to get information or start a conversation, because that's really what it's about. Our fans and our fan base and our success, and Craig getting to his $1 million net the end of this year is largely going to be, honestly, I think it's going to be less about how many fans you have, how many conversations you're able to start. If you think about, great, salesmen or sales pitches and things like that, the reason that they want to call you is because it's harder to turn someone down when you're on the phone. It's more difficult to say no to someone if you've actually been introduced to them live and things like that. So you should use them any place that you want to start a conversation. It's just more engaging. It's more personal and things like that than just using social media as broadcast. And then what types of questions should you ask? We went through 10 different types of questions, and honestly, I'm sure that there are more types of questions out there, but the types of questions you should ask really going to depend on, how active your fan base is, how active you are, and, how engaging, they have been typically and things like that. So just think about how, where you're at in your journey with your fans. And then also think about, if you're asking questions, if you're doing something like in your email list, that audience is going to be warm to you. So they're going to know you. They're going to already have, an understanding of who you are. And you may have actually had conversations with them before. You might be able to ask a different question in an email than you might just posting on your Facebook page, which could be some warm fans, but could also be fans that have said that they liked you, but this might be the first post of yours that they've seen. So just gauge where you're at in your journey with them, gauge how active they've been. If they haven't been very active, you may or may not actually want to go in for the deep, tell me about your life kind of stories and things like that. But you may actually be able to just get those shorter responses just to, have them interact with your page, just to have them touch and, click on, an option or things like that. And that's the other thing too, is with the Facebook poll that we just created, they don't really have to answer, but they can actually click on those things and it'll actually record their score. And let's see, Craig says, look above. Look above. You're talking about your other question, Craig? If you're asking questions for the purpose of data collection, is the audience put off by questions that appear to be soliciting information? Yeah, definitely split test. But, they could be put off, but man, if you're asking someone something like, hey, you guys, what's your favorite place to hear live music? I can't see that as being too invasive. But there could be some that could be more threatening than others. But stuff like that, where it's stuff that is probably going to be normal conversation anyway. I can't really see that stepping too far out of there. So, but yes, that's a great way, something to consider. So just think about those types of things when you are coming up with your list of posts and things like that. So I'm actually going to drop a link in here, but I actually created, it's a freebie, and it is something that I will put here in the comments. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put it in the documents here in the group because I want everybody to have it. But yeah, I basically went through, and I think I've got 6 different types in there, but I've gone through and made just a really quick free cheat sheet. It's 39 different questions to ask. We could come up with a whole bunch more, but I just started off with that, and there's probably going to be a volume 2. But I broke it down into several, I think 6 different categories. And yeah, I want you guys to have that. But just to kind of give you an idea, it's actually something that I'm working with. If you read the Welcome Wednesday post, Simon, who just joined the group, he is great at digital marketing. That's what his company does. And we have been in discussions, and I'm actually working with him to actually build our first Facebook chat bot. And one of the things I'm going to give away is this 39 questions for basically busy musicians. So, but I want you guys to have it. We're already in here. We're already family. So I'm going to put that in there. But yeah, just kind of letting you know about the process and things like that. So that is all the time that I want to take up from your hopefully awesome Friday. And I want you guys to have a good weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in. Craig, thank you so much for being an active participant and chiming in. Patrick, thank you for commenting, you guys. I appreciate you. If you're watching this on replay, thank you for hanging out. But yes, we will be back next Friday. I believe the topic is hashtags, but I might take a poll in the group because I had another idea of what I thought might be a better fit for next week. But I'll use that as a way to actually ask a question to actually get some information, because I am thinking about a couple of different things. So, all right, go ask some questions, go get some feedback, go increase some engagement. March is engagement month. And my name is Leonard with Indie Band Coach. You guys have an awesome weekend. See ya.